Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a DFS strategy video for the 2021 Wells Fargo Championship. Now, before I actually get into the video, I want to remind you guys there are timestamps in the description below. Those timestamps can also be found on YouTube's progress bar. If you're on desktop, all you have to do is hover the mouse over that progress bar. You'll find timestamps there. On mobile, you'll have to find a little knob on the progress bar and click and drag that up and down. You'll find timestamps that way. But to give a little overview of what I'm going to be covering, the strategy video is all about narrowing down our player pool and basically finding our anchor spots, our anchor golfers that we want to build around. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing in this video. We'll be looking at tee time pairings. We'll be looking at the sweet spot score first, and then we'll look at tee time pairings. Unfortunately, there are no statement game picks to be made because as of Tuesday night, there are no statements up for golf, so I can't do any of those. So we'll skip that. We'll also look at grass stats. Since I failed to do that in the preview video, I kind of did that on purpose. This is the video I want to narrow down everything. So I want to look at the very specific stats and try to find our best anchor positions. And from there, I will show you the golfers that I'm going to be building around. And I'm going to be using the optimizer to basically find me golfers to build around a little bit quicker, a little bit easier than me trying to fumble around it just using my eyeballs. Optimizer, if you didn't know, has all of my conditionals that I love to put in place, has all the bucket conditionals, I should say. So it's a really fast and easy way to build lineups. So let's go ahead and get into this thing. And we're going to start with the sweet spot score. So I have the rank over here in column N. It is ranked from top to bottom. Justin Thomas is your number one ranked golfer. Actually, before I get in the ranks, I want to tell you how the ranks were created. So basically, I'm looking at the stats over here from column DA across. You can see it's OWGR. So I'm looking at the official World Golf Ranking, trying to make the points as close to 100 for the best golfers in the field for that stat. So Justin Thomas, I think he's ranked number 2 in the world. So obviously he has a better score than anybody else here. And as we go across, that's basically my goal, is try to get the scores as close to 100 as possible. So the better golfers are going to have higher scores in those stats. So I'm looking at OWGR. I'm looking at the Bermuda stats. Overall average, this goes back to 2013. I'm looking at top 10 frequency, course history, bogey avoidance, birdie or better, recent form average, DK average, and scoring average. These all come from season-long stats, so all for this season. And that's what the color red here. Those scores are then calculated here, the sum of all of them, and then I use a rank function over here to give you the best rank. So instead of, making it really difficult to follow with your eyeballs and see all the different scores, the rank is over here. So your number 1 ranked golfer, Justin Thomas. Your number 2 ranked golfer, Webb Simpson. He ends up being like the 5th ranked golfer when it comes to salary. As I look through this, I think the biggest surprise to me is probably Bryson DeChambeau being the 7th ranked golfer in this model. He is the 2nd priced guy, but 7th ranked guy. It's not terrible, don't get me wrong. I'll still be playing Bryson, but it is it's surprising to say the least. And then one of the best value plays is Stuart Sink at $7,900. He's ranked over the likes of Corey Connors at $9,200, Will Zalatoris at $94, Patrick Cantlay at $96, and Max Homa at $9,000. So that's a little bit of a surprise as well. A very good value play with Stuart Sink, and he's just been playing really well as of late, so it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Just to scroll down to give you the top 20, to round out the top 20, Brendan Steele is my 20th ranked golfer. Russell Henley, who broke our hearts last week, he ends up being 21st on the model, and I think this is a great bounce back position for Russell Henley, so do not be afraid to play him. So from here, what I'd like to do, and I'm only going to cover the top 20 in the sweet spot rank, I'm going to go and look at tee time pairings. Now, how I'm going to do this, I'm only going to be talking about the golfers that are highlighted over in this column, under the rank column. And they're highlighted based off of a little bit of logic that I have behind this. And it starts with first describing why this column has highlighted cells in it. I've either highlighted the cells for each of these golfers under this game column on whether or not they're better than field average for DraftKings points or scoring average. That's a season-long stats. So a dark green would represent that scoring average and DraftKings average is better than field average. This yellow color would depict that they are better than field average in scoring average, and this light green would mean they're better than field average in DraftKings average. Hopefully I didn't lose you on that. But if all three golfers in a pairing have a highlighted color, I highlight them over here. And their highlighted color here all depends on whether or not their sweet spot score is under 100. Those that are not, and collectively. So those that are not, like this column or this team right here, this pairing, I highlighted yellow because it's over 100. It actually equals 170. As I scroll down, I can show you one of the best groups in the field would be Webb Simpson, Jon Rahm, Max Homa. Their color is dark green. Their collective score is 24. So yeah, it's one of the best groups, but that's how I'm color pairing it over here. And that's what I'm going to bring up and talk about. So I'm not going to talk about anyone else or anybody who is not highlighted from this column here. Hopefully that made sense and it wasn't too long to explain. So our first group, Brian Harman, K.H. Lee, and Peter Malnati. Now, only Brian Harman has DraftKings points and scoring average better than field average. The other two just have scoring average better than field average. And the reason that I do it this way, I forgot to explain this, is because it has the better opportunity for scoring in a group, in my opinion. If you have a group that has lots of good scorers, whether they're DraftKings points or just scoring average, I'm a believer that golfers draft off each other. I'm a competitive golfer myself. If my group is doing well, it more likely will improve my playability, if that makes sense. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes if a group is doing well and I'm doing poorly, it just makes me do worse. But more often than not, I'm playing better when my group's playing better. And then on the opposite, if my group is playing poorly, it's hard for me to find a groove. Again, just like on the opposite, sure, I can be in a groove while the other two guys are golfing terribly. But I think in the law of averages, it will be you're playing better with a good group, you're playing worse with the worst group. So that's how I'm doing this. That's why I'm bringing it up this way. So yeah, I think this group, a decent scoring group. Brian Harman, K.H. Lee, Peter Malnati. Scrolling down, we already talked about these three golfers, Webb Simpson, Jon Rahm, and Max Homa. I think that's a fantastic group. Starting your lineups with either of these golfers, I think is fine. I think it's going to be pretty hard to pair some of these guys up unless you're doing a Webb Simpson, Max Homa, or even a Jon Rahm, Max Homa. I don't think putting Webb and Jon Rahm together is a good idea, but it's doable. So there's that. But I would highly recommend not doing that. Next group has Jason Day, Pat Perez, and CT Pan. Now, these guys aren't elite by any standards. However, all three of them are better than field average in scoring average. So there's that. I mean, I don't think that's... Let's put it this way. It doesn't hurt them, but it's not going to help them. Like, I really don't care. The next group is actually a tie. So this also collectively equals 24. So this morning wave actually has some really good groups in it. And this other group here has Justin Thomas, Victor Hovland, and Patrick Cantlay. I think they're all very similar types when it comes to, their games. They're very good ball strikers, pretty decent off the tee. Like, they're solid golfers. So I like this group probably the most out of all of them. I just, I'm not the biggest Max Homa fan. I shouldn't even say fan, like I dislike his personality. I'm very cautious of his game. I still think he's kind of, a 7 to 8K type of golfer. And like he doesn't deserve this 9K price tag, but obviously he has. In my mind, I can't wrap my head around it. Not yet. But this group right here, Justin Thomas, Victor Hovland, Patrick Cantlay, fantastic group. Poor Poor Tony Finau's in a group with Jimmy Walker and Michael Kim. I don't know how that group got paired up together, but I feel for Tony. I would like Tony Finau in this. I mean, I still do, but I like him better if he wasn't in such a crappy group. The next group in the morning here is Aaron Wise, Robert Streb, and Nate Lashley. I really have nothing to say about these guys. Their collective score is 176, so it's pretty high. It's just the fact that DraftKings average and scoring average for all three of them are better than field average. So there's that. Yeah, I will actually give a kind of an honorable mention here. Sungjae Im, Carlos Ortiz, and Troy Merritt. Now, Merritt had a pretty decent week last week. I believe he was in the optimal lineup, or he was in one of the realistic optimal lineups. So he played well last week. I'm not saying that's going to absolutely translate over here, but since Sungjae and Carlos Ortiz are better than field average when it comes to DraftKings points and scoring average, Troy Merritt he's heating up, or at least he did last week. So I'm not really going to hurt him. I'm not going to peg him down too far. He is in a salary range that we do want to choose golfers from. So I think this is a good honorable mention group, and I would definitely play, don't feel afraid to play Im or Ortiz or even Merritt paired up together. So I think that's a decent way to do things. And I think, actually, nope, there's another morning group. Adam Shank, Bo Hogue, and Cameron Percy. I really have nothing to say about this group. Their score collectively is 318. The fact that their scoring average is better than field average is crazy. I really have nothing good to say about him. I like Shank. Shank is a decent golfer. Obviously all of these guys are decent golfers, but for, roster ability, I think is a decent play. So I have no issue there. And I guess a good thing I will say is their strokes gained buckets. They all have positive off the tee stats. So that is a definite positive. And at this golf course, I think that's going to matter quite a bit. So maybe it's a good reason to play one of these guys. Now that I see this, the lower 6K range, not a range to really be diving into. I would rather stay with this high 6K. But that's going to round out the morning wave. There are 52 groups, so 1 to 26 is morning, and then 27 on is our afternoon group. You can also see the tee time right here. Now, the afternoon actually does not have as many groups highlighted as the morning wave does. I guess we can take a look here. Will Zalatoris and Christopher Ventura, I think that'd be a great group to play, but they're playing with DJ Trahan, which... DJ Trahan's at least 14 years older than either of these guys. I don't know how well these guys are going to play together. I think Christopher Ventura, he's a strokes gained bucket 2 guy. That means he has positive off the tee and positive putting. If I scroll over and take a look at his season-long stats just to validate that with you guys. Here's your off the tee stat and here's your putting. So positive off the tee, positive putting. I guess I have to say this, negative tee to green and negative strokes gained total. So maybe not a good reason to play him. That's actually really good to know. So yeah, feel bad for Will Zalatoris. It would be great if he was in a better group, but he's kind of used to this. So I'm not going to knock Zalatoris, but I'm definitely not going to play this group. Phil, I'm not going to talk about Phil. Never mind. The first group we're going to get to, though, is Brendan Steele. He was 20th, ranked in the Sweet Spot model, so there we go. Adam Hadwin and Russell Knox. I really have nothing good to say about this group. Their collective score is 152. I like Brendan Steele. I don't care for the other two, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this group, but just to let you guys know, they are highlighted. They are ranked. It's a decent group. The next one has Tommy Fleetwood, Harold Varner III, and Chase Seifert. Seifert missed the cut last week, so that was a bummer, but the missed cut is actually the one of the best buckets. So missing the cut or withdrawing the week before is actually one of the higher last week buckets. So do not feel afraid of playing golfers who missed the cut last week. Seifert's one of them. I think he's a decent play. Probably going to stay away from Tommy Fleetwood. He hasn't really been playing that well, although his 8,000 price tag, not terrible. But I think I mean, I'm going to limit my exposure to Fleetwood. I'm not gonna play him. Bryson DeChambeau is in a group with another bomber in Cameron Davis, but they're playing with Beau Hosler, and Hosler just is not good at golf right now. He did play decent last week, but man, I do not care for Hosler, so play at your own risk. Play at your own will. The next group to talk about is Joaquin Niemann, Stuart Sink, and Brandon Hagee. I highlighted this group because Niemann and Sink are pretty low with the SweetSpot rank, and Hagee just doesn't have that many starts under his belt, I don't feel like, to actually have his scoring average or DraftKings average be lower than field average, but he's been playing decent golf, and he is a strokes gained bucket 2 golfer. So this group to me is a decent group. 6,400 is kind of a little worrisome. I know it's just a salary; it's not that big of a deal. This is definitely a year where this could break through, and obviously someone below 6,500 could finish inside the top 10. I forgot to mention that, but that's why I'm saying 6,400 or less. Probably want to avoid because we just haven't seen it. Not finished inside the top 10 for this tournament. For the last couple of years, or really 2019, 2018. So yeah, that's why I'm mentioning like 6,400 don't play. But I like Brandon Hagee's chances. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I would more focus on Joaquin Niemann and Stuart Sink. In all reality, I probably shouldn't even be talking about them because not all 3 golfers are better than field average, either in strokes gained or DraftKings. But one other group is Xander Schauffele, Patrick Reed, and Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor, despite being 105th ranked in my SweetSpot model, he is better than field average when it comes to scoring average. So that is why he's highlighted over here. And the other 2 guys, number 4 ranked in the model and number 9 with Patrick Reed. Now, Patrick Reed missed the cut last week. Again, that is a good bucket to choose from. So if you do like Reed, and you like that salary construction of 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6, boom, there you go. Your 2 guys here. Schauffele and Reed, they both hit the same type of shot shape, which is the preferred shot shape at this golf course. Pretty good reason to put those 2 guys together. I don't know how many times I'll do that, but it's good to see. I'll at least create one lineup for you guys that has these 2 guys in it. Scrolling down, our next group we're going to talk about is Corey Connors, Matt Jones, and Andrew Putnam. I don't have anything bad to say about these guys, but Matt Jones is on everybody's radar, and rightfully so. $7,400 for a winner that's won in the last 8 weeks, I think. Yeah, I think in the last 8 weeks. And then Corey Connors, who's just a solid golfer. I think it's a decent pairing. I have no issues. Let's just put it that way. I have no issues rostering any of these guys. And if you needed a reason to play Putnam, it's because he's in a good group with these guys. So I think that that'll do it for me when it comes to tee time pairings, because there's no one else to talk about that's highlighted over here. Really weird, this afternoon wave. What do I have? 5 groups that I talked about. Yeah, just 5. As opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just one more, I guess, in the morning that I talked about. But yeah, those are the groups that I think, worth playing around or choosing some golfers from. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's see what I want to do. We would typically go to statement games picks, but that's not here. Let's do a quick recap of... No. We're going rain to grass stats. Actually, no. We're going into the recap because I want to do the recap, go into grass stats, and then start building our lineups from there. So what we found out yesterday, the buckets that I'm going to be building my lineups around, I'm going to be focused on this course history 2 bucket, which are golfers who have a course history between 1 and 20. It shows, it has a success rate of 26.67%. So all golfers in this bucket dating back to it goes back to 2015, but dating back to 2015, 26.67% of all golfers in that bucket have finished inside the top 10. So pretty decent, but we also have a minimum of 1, meaning it's happened at least once every single year dating back to 2015. That gives me very good reason to play. Also, the bucket totals, its average per year is 9, and we have 9 in the field this week. So everything is kind of matching up to play somebody from this bucket. And I guess why don't we just go ahead and take a look at those types of golfers, or not those types, but who is in this bucket. So as we take a look, why don't we go ahead and sort by salary. Rory is number 1 when it comes to salary, then Jason Day. So these are your 2 high-priced guys that would make sense to anchor around. Jason Day is actually more of a decent filler price. I don't care for Jason Day if I'm being honest, but this is maybe a good spot to choose Jason Day in. If not, I don't mind the likes of a Damon, a Gooch. I don't know if I guess I don't care so much. I have no feelings about Francesco Molinari. Maybe you guys do, but I really don't care. Aaron Wise, Doc Redman. I don't really care for either of those guys. Doc Redman has been heating up. He's been playing atrociously. Kind of in the beginning of this year. Beginning of the calendar year up until last week. Last week he made the cut and did pretty okay. I can't remember exactly what his finish was. What was it? He finished 39th, so not great. Obviously made the cut. But then we have Phil Mickelson here at $6,900. Maybe this is the time to actually play Phil. I know a lot of people were trying to make or trying to come up with a reason to play him last week. Maybe this is the week you play him. $6,900. That's insane. And again, we've seen at least one golfer out of this bucket, not these golfers, but what the bucket represents, finish inside the top 10. So my bet it's going to be Rory, and I'm going to anchor my lineups around Rory. So I don't even care what the grass stat is right now. I'm going to go ahead and throw him here. This is an old spreadsheet where I would build lineups from before I created the optimizer. So I'm just going to store Rory here. He's going to be my strokes gained bucket 2 that I'm going to anchor around. I do want these guys as kind of fillers. So what I'm going to do is we'll put my anchors here, and I'll put fillers right here. And when I do create my anchors, I'll just mix and match some of these guys here and just see what works out. So go ahead, come back to here. Let's go ahead and look at the next bucket I would want to choose from. I'm going to stay in that course history bucket, and I'm going to go with course history bucket 1, which is that 20 to 40 range. So guys who have a course history, average finishing position between 20 and 40, I'm going to be selecting from there. Has 12.5% success rate. We've seen a minimum of 1. So again, that means at least one golfer from this bucket over the last 5 years has shown up inside the top 10. So that gives me confidence to play them. We see an average of 20 from this bucket. We have 18 in the field this week, so 2 less than average, but I don't think that really hurts that much. Let's go ahead and take a look at who those golfers are. Your top guy is Justin Thomas, followed by Webb Simpson. Tony Finau is in. This is a pretty good group. We don't have a lot of low-priced guys, but even these low-priced guys, I'm probably just going to skip out on. But I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to grab these guys, and they're going right here. So these 3 might be my anchor spots. We'll see. I'll double check on that, but I like them, and I probably will anchor around them. The rest of the guys, I'm just going to go ahead and fill right here. So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and put this. We'll call this course history 2, and this will be course history 1. Just so you guys know when we go between the two, and for me too, what signifies the golfers in these 2 columns. Okay, so moving on, I'm only going to talk about one more bucket, I think, that I'm going to want to anchor around. And I believe it's the recent form 4. Actually, recent form 4 to recent form 1 is a pretty good bucket. Now, recent form 4, I think, is a shoe-in. On average, we've seen 7 golfers in this bucket. We have 12 this week. 21% success rate. We've seen at least one finish inside the top 10 every single year. And my recent form actually goes back to 2014. So every single year we've seen at least one. That is impressive. We actually have a 14% success rate of finishing inside the top 5. Now, it's not a for sure 0 to 2, but either way, it's a decent bucket to choose golfers from. So let's go ahead, let's look at the recent form 4 golfers, see if we find any that come from the 2 course history buckets we looked at. This is not what I want to do. So Justin Thomas shows up once again. John Rahm is in this, Xander, and then there's Webb. So Webb and JT, if we go back to that other spreadsheet, they're right there. I think it's a good anchor position for either of these guys. I think these are really good plays. Now, if I'm going to make an argument here, John Rahm and Xander, they're fantastic golfers. And I don't think we should actually, avoid playing these guys whatsoever. They do fall in the bucket that we want. And quite frankly, they could finish inside the top 10, going along with either Justin Thomas or Webb Simpson. I did show there was a max of 2, that we've never seen more than 2 any given year going back to 2014 from this bucket. But something I said in the preview video, this field is so strong. It's probably the strongest field we've seen at this tournament in a very long time, at least for as long as I've been doing this. My stats go back to 2013. I don't think we've had a stronger field than this field. So yeah, we could see 4 golfers from this bucket finish inside the top 10. So I don't think there's really any issue going with any 4 of these guys. In fact, what I'm going to do is copy them and put them here as well. So 5 golfers that I'm thinking about anchoring around. And why don't we just give... Okay, let's see. No. How do we give a check mark to JT and Webb? I think they're just a shoe-in. Let's give them white colors for their font. So these guys are shoe-ins. We'll see if we can find any more that go with. Obviously, John Rahm and Xander can't be, since they didn't show up in our 2 recent form anchor buckets. But Rory still has a chance. Let's see if he falls in any of the other recent form buckets. So recent form 4, the bucket that I've highlighted on the screen, that was our number 1 lock. I think our number 2 has to be recent form 2, primarily because it's just a smaller bucket to choose from. 22 golfers in that bucket this field or this week. On average, there's 20 usually. 13.22% success rate, finishing inside the top 10. But we at least see 1 inside the top 5 and top 10 every single year. So I think this is a really good bucket to choose from. Let's see who fits in that range. So recent form 2, Finau actually would get a check mark since he's already shown up. And I don't remember any of the other guys that would fall under this bucket. What I'm going to do is copy them over. I know I didn't do it for the last bucket, but let's go ahead and do this. So recent form 2. And then this was what? Recent form 4. Let me go ahead and just grab those guys quickly. So yeah, Tony Finau was in that course history 1 as well as that recent form 2. So if we really wanted to, we could add Tony Finau to any of these. And I guess if I'm being honest, why not add Tony Finau to the Rory lineup? This gives me a 10K golfer, a 9K golfer. I could choose an 8K golfer pretty easily and then really round it out with 2 7s and a 6. This might be my way that I'm going to start lineups. And I don't think that's a bad way. But yeah, recent form, we just talked about recent form 2. Zalatoris is in there. I like that. Finau, I guess if there's a reason to play Finau, this is a pretty darn good reason. Henley's in this group. I really like Henley. I will be using him quite a bit. So, but Matt Jones is here. Homa's here, Neiman, Tringali. Those are all decent names. Denny McCarthy. All of these guys. Brendan Steele's number 20 ranked on my model. I don't think there's I think we're definitely going to see one, if not 3 guys in this bucket show up inside the top 10. And it could be Tony Finau, who would fit in another bucket. So it wouldn't be surprising, you know, he could count for 2 guys basically to fill out our buckets. But either way, yeah, that's our recent form 2s. And I think if I recall, recent form 1 was the next one we want to look at. Yeah, recent form 1. There are 47 golfers in the bucket this week. That's a lot. We usually see on average 49. So this is a very volume-driven bucket. But let's go ahead and see who would actually fall in this bucket. I think we're going to find Rory, if I'm going to be honest with you. Recent form 2, we're going to 1. We don't. Bryson, Patrick Reed, Sung Jae. Again, this is 47 golfers deep, but a lot of the guys fit in this 6K range. So I guess if you need a 6K golfer, this might be a good spot to, you know, pick from. We already talked about Chase Seifert. He is one of the guys that's highlighted here. We didn't really talk about Nat. I didn't really talk about Nate Lashley. I think he's in a group I don't care for. He's at that 6,400 price tag. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but we also talked about Brandon Hagee. So for cheap guys, not terrible. Same with KH Lee. Sneakily, he's been playing some decent golf. He's a strokes gained bucket 5. We'll get into that a little bit later, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. But scrolling up here, I mean, Reed is in a group that I like, so maybe we choose Reed. But why don't we go ahead, highlight all of these guys, and throw them right here. And this is our recent form 1 golfers. So these are our 5 anchor buckets, basically, that I'm going to call anchor buckets. Unfortunately, Rory is not one of those guys that gets that white font, which is obviously the anchor spot. It might be, I don't know. Actually, it might be Tony Finau. I might put Tony Finau in place for Rory. Let's go ahead and actually take a look. Can we, like, what is Rory's recent form bucket? It's a recent form 5. So what type of success do we see there? 5.36%. We typically see 20 golfers, or we typically see 18 golfers in this field, nearly 19. We have 20 in the field this week. The top 5 frequency, that success rate's not very good. Top 20, sure. Top 10, not good as well. But here's the thing. He does fit one of these other anchor spot buckets. So actually, he's not a terrible play. Not I wouldn't say a terrible play. If I'm going to be smart about this, though, you know, it wouldn't be Rory we would want to choose. We would probably, we want to choose Finau. So I'm going to put Rory here, put Finau over here, and actually go ahead and do something like that. So I think these are my 3 anchor positions. They just show up in course history and recent form buckets. They are in the salary buckets we want. They're also in the strokes gained buckets. So one sneaky thing that I didn't mention, I have all of these color-coded based off of the strokes gained buckets. So the strokes gained bucket 1 golfers are all highlighted with this dark green. And then strokes gained bucket 2 is the light green. Yellow is strokes gained bucket 3. And just to go over that, strokes gained bucket 1, I guess let me just show you on the screen. So when we look at strokes gained bucket 1, I'm looking at these 4 stats: off the tee, approach, around the green, and putting. They're positive in all of them. Strokes gained bucket 3 is looking at off the tee and putting. So if putting is negative, but it's positive off the tee, there's strokes gained bucket 3. And I heavily go around off the tee and putting. Those are the 2 stats that I care about the most when looking at golfers. And my strokes gained buckets stats are based off of that. Strokes gained bucket 2 means off the tee is positive, putting is positive, but one of the stats in between, whether approach or around the green, is negative. So those are your 2s. If I go down to 5, that means off the tee and putting are negative. So that's obviously not a good sign. And then strokes gained bucket 4 is off the tee is negative, but putting is positive. And I think maybe the best way to do this going forward is actually taking a look at tee to green and seeing if it's positive. if it's positive, we probably can go ahead and remove a lot of the golfers that we don't see fit. If I were to go ahead and take a look at the 2019 DK page and see what we have here, I'm going to go ahead and hide this. And we can take a look at the strokes gained stats. Do we have anyone that's negative off the or tee to green? Sure. We have Max Homa. He would have been a positive off the tee, positive putter. So he'd have been a strokes gained bucket 2 guy, but with negative tee to green. Our other guy here is Jason Duffner. He finished inside the top 5, by the way, and he would have been a strokes gained bucket 5 golfer. I do have that over here, by the way, in column K. Who else is negative tee to green inside the top 10? These 2 golfers are, and one is a strokes gained bucket 5, and one's a strokes gained bucket 4. So really, I guess it doesn't matter what tee to green, and that's the reason that I do the strokes gained buckets, because to me it doesn't matter what the tee to green is. I'm more interested in off the tee putting, and then if they do have everything positive, I do want to mark that. I don't so much care if one approach is positive versus around the green. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, I wanted you to see that. I know I didn't really describe it yet, so there it is. So the last piece of information that I want to cover before we're actually anchoring some of these lineups for good is looking at Bermuda grass. So if I were to go ahead and scroll top to bottom, or not top, sort top to bottom, your number 1 golfer is Rory, followed by Webb, Patrick Cantlay, and Justin Thomas. So if there any other indication why JT and Webb should be anchored, I don't know. Like, this is the best indicators that I can possibly give. They are both in the recent form and course history bucket we want. They have the best overall Bermuda. I think it's a slam dunk to choose those guys. And then we do see Rory up there. The only thing holding Rory back is the recent form bucket. But he is a strokes gained bucket 1 guy. He has one of the best course histories and the best overall Bermuda stat. He finishes inside the top 10 at Bermuda golf courses at a clip of 53%. If I were to sort this from top to bottom, that is the best in the field. So I think that is definitely a reason to anchor a spot around Rory. And if we're being honest, that Rory Finau lineup just looks that much better. So I think that's what I like, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and do with one of my anchor spots, is just do a Finau McIlroy lineup, and we'll go a little bit further from there. But also it basically solidifies JT and Webb. I think that is a fantastic play. I'm trying to see, do I see any other cross play, like golfers that are also in these other buckets? So we're looking at the course history. I want to see if any of these guys are actually over here in the recent form buckets. I do see Sebastian Munoz, so why don't I go ahead and give them red? Yeah, that's fine. Emiliano Grillo, that's another one. This isn't the most efficient way, I understand. Patrick Reed is another one. So it's Tony Finau, obviously. And I know JT is over in this one, so is Webb. So that, I mean, I can go ahead and also highlight them. I just didn't mark them down with this course history bucket, or the course history 1 buckets here. Who else do we see? I'm sure you guys are yelling at me right now. Ricky Fowler. Wow. Ricky Fowler's in the 2 buckets that we are anchoring our lineups around. So if you guys want to play Ricky, I think it's pretty decent. Stuart Sink shows up in both. Oh, I thought I saw Justin Sutt twice. I just see him here. I'm just going to leave it at this. If I go throughout all of this, it's going to take forever. I have the bucket system, or I have the optimizer do this for me. So we'll see that in the in the optimizer. But here, you obviously can see that. Looking at the rest of the guys. Now, what's on the screen, what I've highlighted, these are your top 20 guys with Bermuda stats. It kind of goes up pretty heavy here. Sungjae down is 24 to 31. And then Francesco to Corey is 34 to 42. So I guess it doesn't actually go down that much. It's pretty even. But there's a 17-point swing between these two. Between Rory and then Corey. Good rhyme. So keep that in mind. One of the actually better stats that when we do our review videos that we've been looking at is this 2021 Bermuda stat. Just for grass stats in general. We see so every review, I actually sort by all these stats and show you who is top 20 in each of these stats and how well they did in the tournament. This one has shown the most success. Looking at this year, 2021, at the grass stats. Rory shows up, JT shows up. I guess that we do have Finau up there, so that's also another good sign to play with Finau. Webb shows up. I think we know it's JT and Webb no matter what, right? And Finau's not terrible, and then also Rory's not terrible either. So I think we're okay with those groups. And my buddy Dave's just gonna I'm gonna try to convince him to play Rory, and he's like, no. I've learned my lesson. I'm not playing Rory this week, and rightfully so. I mean, he's been doing poorly, but hey, I'm a sucker. What can I say? I'll be playing Rory. But anyways, this is the last little piece of glue. So Rory, JT, Webb, even Xander, Tony, Jason Day shows up. Oh, I can't play Jason Day. Ugh. Whatever. I don't know what else to say. One other thing I do want to go over, though. I don't play anyone who is less than 5%. So anyone lower than 5% here, I just won't play. So we can go ahead and just give them we'll just nix them out. So notable names, Eric Van Rooyen, 7,200. Matthew Neesmith, 7,300. Where does Neesmith come from? Is he from the South? Neesmith is from South Carolina. Why is he playing so poorly on Bermuda grass? That makes no sense to me. 18 Bermuda events, 0% finishing inside the top 10. That's good enough reason for me not to want to play him. Scrolling down, any other notables that we see here? A lot of guys, low 6K. I guess we have Sam Ryder here at 67. I do like Ryder. He has some success, but overall, his Bermuda averages are just terrible. Joel Damon is $7,600 and does not do the greatest on Bermuda grass. So I think maybe that's a reason I just don't play a lot of Joel Damon. Scrolling down, we see a lot of our low 6K golfers here. 5% is right here. I go 5% and higher. So Kelly Craft makes the cut. Everyone below, or I should say in this case where you're seeing it, above misses. They're cut. That includes even Peter Malnati, 6,200. He usually does pretty decent, but Brandon Hagee's up here too. So we were talking about Brandon Hagee. This is probably a good reason not to play Brandon. Good to know. Okay, let's go ahead and start building some lineups. I'm gonna pull up the optimizer, pull it on over, and I have all of the. Here, how about this? First of all, what I want to do. Go to here. These are my 3 anchor spots. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go, our number 1 play is JT. Our number 2 play is Webb. And our number 3 play is going to be Finau. Now, when I actually create my lineups, this is what I like to do. I like to go 3. I'm going to pair up with Rory. So these 2 guys will always be locked in when I create lineups. Webb and JT are their next guys, but I need to pair them up with somebody. So Webb Simpson is 10-2. I probably want to find someone in the 9K range, and I think I know who it is. I think we're going with Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed shows up twice right here. Are they actually playing together? Patrick Reed and Webb? I can't remember. Because, I mean, Time Pairings, why are we not, why? we should be talking about Time Pairings and pairing some of these guys up together. So 8. Oh, he's playing with Homa and Rom. All right, who is Reed playing with? 45. Xander. It's not terrible. I'm not going to pair those guys up together, though. Okay. So yeah, anyways, we're going to go ahead and pair Webb up with Patrick Reed and JT being expensive. Let's take a look here. I do not know why my nose itches so much. But who are we pairing Mr. JT up with? Is it Ricky? Do we do it with Ricky? I don't think so. Ideally, I want to select somebody that also are in these groups here that are with the highlighted red color. Actually, let me see here. I do know that I want to put all of these maxes in, or not maxes, but I want to put all of these mins into it. So last week 3, I'm gonna go ahead and put that over here. I didn't do this prior to, so I apologize. Last week 1 and 2, we'll put 1s as well. So that's easy. 1, 2, and 3. We want a minimum of 1 each. Let's scroll down. Course history 1. We'll go ahead and put a 1 there. I guess I don't need to keep copying and pasting. 3, we want 1. Course history 2. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. Once again, so that our top buckets. Sure, makes sense. Taking a look here. Recent form 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 gets 2 though. And then salary, we want at least one 10K golfer, one 8K golfer. Okay. 110, 1.8. 2 7s and 1 6.5. So it's at 2, 4, 5. So we'll see how it ends up shaking out. Strokes gained. I don't have enough strokes gained data to even go by that. So I have entered all of my conditionals right here. Let's see what the number 1 lineup is. See if we can actually create one. That's the big thing. Yeah, no problem. Actually, it selected Sam Ryder, who we know we're not going to play. So let's go ahead and oh, that's because I have a Y under his name for whatever reason. Let's try it again. I'm sure it'll select somebody different. Okay. Webb, perfect. Joaquin Niemann, 9,100. Tommy Fleetwood at 8,000. Stuart Sink, 79. Taylor Gooch, 76. And Rory Sabatini, 67. I'm not a huge fan of Rory, but hey, I guess that's okay. Not terrible. If I were to go ahead and save this lineup, since I have everything based off of ownership, we won't see any 6 of those guys. Let's run the second one. And it's JT, Patrick Cantlay, Emiliano Grillo. I'm sold. You don't have to sell me any more, Optimizer. We're going to put JT and Patrick Cantlay. Actually, hold on. Here's a good way to resolve this. If I go ahead and lock in JT, the Optimizer has to select JT. Who you pairing me up with, Optimizer? Grillo. Huh. Okay. I'm going to just say no. I'm going to put a 9K golfer in there. I'm going to make sure the Optimizer selects a 9K. Here we go. Joaquin Niemann. So that's my JT lineup. It's going with Joaquin Niemann. Where is Mr. Joaquin? We do see him in recent form bucket 2, which I don't think, it's not the same as JT, so I'm cool with that. That's the other thing too I forgot to mention. I want to select golfers from different buckets. So if I have Patrick Reed, I don't want to put him in a Webb Simpson bucket, but I do believe I did that with Course History 1. I mean, they're in different recent form buckets. Is that going to be okay? I think that's fine. I mean, I think ideally what I'd want to do is any of these guys here, Obviously, Finau is in a course history 1 bucket. And he's also in a recent form 2. I would want to like pair any one of these guys up that might show up over in these other 2 buckets. Phil actually shows up in these 2 buckets, so maybe Phil wouldn't be a bad choice, but it's not gonna be the end of the world if I'm being honest. So I do like Finau and Rory together, covers those ones. We can easily add some of these other golfers in with the Tony Finau, Rory McIlroy lineup. But I just wanted to figure out who was going to be my anchor spot for Mr. Justin Thomas, because we obviously have Patrick Reed right there. So let me go ahead and do something like that. Rory does not deserve the red lettering because he does not fit the 5 buckets that I'm anchoring around. But I'm gonna show you what this is gonna look like. So I'm gonna actually move this back to 0. I'm gonna save this lineup. Do I want to? No, I don't. So I wonder if that Joaquin Niemann lineup is just gonna be the same exact one. Sometimes the optimizer doesn't do it that way. Okay, so it does. So this is what the optimizer is liking for JT and Niemann. Let's see what a second lineup would look like. So it'd be Sung Jae added to this with Aaron Wise, Ryan Moore, and Richie Werenski. Interesting. Okay. I can dig it. That's fine. I'll delete these lineups, give you what the next one is. So we're going to go with Webb and Patrick Reed. Let's see what the optimizer spits out for this. Simpson, Reed, Tringali, Gooch, Griffin, Sabatini. We already saw they're just picking, the optimizer is still picking these guys primarily because, you know, Gooch just represents one of the best values. But here we go with Fleetwood again, Lucas Glover, Francesco Molinari, and Vaughn Taylor. Okay. I can deal with it. You know what I should do? We're gonna do this a little different. I'm gonna breeze through this. Don't worry about it. We're gonna go JT. I'm gonna give you 5 lineups with these players. Let's go with JT. Where's Joaquin? And Joaquin Niemann. We'll do this and we'll run and save 5 times. So I'll name off all the lineups. So we got JT, Niemann, Fleetwood, Gooch, Munoz, Sabatini. Okay. Run through this again. We already kind of saw Sung Jae, Wise, Moore, Werenski. Perfect. JT, Grillo, Molinari, Griffin, Norlander. Not terrible. And, well, I'm not going to keep saying JT Niemann. So, obviously, you know those are my anchor spots. Harris English is in this one. Joel Damon, Russell Knox, and Luke List. Interesting. Okay, we'll save that and run one more. Here's our 5th lineup. What are we going to see? Jason Day, Kevin Streelman, Brian Stewart, and Rob Oppenheim. Okay, so somebody up from the 6,100. I don't want to see someone from the 6,100. I don't want to see anyone lower than 6,500. So let's run this again. Probably not going to see these guys, the same names. Optimizer can't do it. Has to choose someone from the 6,100 if we go by these salary constraints. Let's go ahead and say I just want 1 here. Do I want an 8K guy? Do I really care? No, we'll do that. So we'll open it up. I'm sure the optimizer can work through it now. No, gave it even more fits. Why? So why did it pick Cantlay, I wonder? I think we were going to have issues no matter what. But why is it picking Cantlay? Is there a reason? It's got to be its recent form 3. I'm guessing that's the culprit. Yep, that was the culprit. What is our recent form bucket 3? Was that actually a bucket we wanted to make sure we did that to? Recent form 3. That's 60 to 80. We've seen a minimum of 2 up to 4. There are 52 guys in that bucket. I don't know. I don't get it. I'll have to do some tweaks, but here you go. Here's the final 5th lineup. We have Joaquin Niemann, Jason Day, Matt Jones, Zach Johnson, Patrick Rogers. This is a pretty good group. So not terrible there. Let's go ahead and run through 5 lineups with the other 2. By the way, if you think this is a bad representation, like we shouldn't be doing this kind of thing, let me know. I can certainly stop doing this and not show lineups because I know some people have issues with that. But we see the same guys here. Actually, we add Neiman to this mix, which is pretty decent. I do like Neiman this week. Here we go with Tringali, Sink, Molinari, Werenski. Save that. It's probably going to be the same guys if I'm going to be honest. Taylor, Jones, Damon, Harmon in this one with Simpson and Reed. Mickelson comes in this one. Moore, Grillo, and Watson. That seems like a pretty dangerous lineup. And then our last one, Shank, Griffin, Steele, and Jason Day. So that's not terrible. Most of these are going to be the same. So I recognize that. I understand. Because the optimizer is just looking at the metric that I have here, the highest metric that it can put into lineups, it's going to do. The best that I can do, I mean, just doing these constraints over here, I obviously got rid of the 8K constraint. It's not something I really absolutely need. I also don't need a 9K, but I do think a 7 and a 6 is definitely, well, those are definite buckets that I want. They showed up in the optimal lineup quite a bit, so we'll definitely do that. So let's go ahead and see what our best Rory McIlroy, Tony Finau lineups are, what they are. Tringali, Sink, Munoz, and Sabatini. I'm not a huge fan of Sabatini. Let me see if I can do something here. So 6,900 Sabatini. At least that's what I thought his price tag was. 6,700. Okay, so 542. I mean, Mickelson is higher ranked than he is. I don't know why I keep selecting him. The rest of our guys here in the 6K range, pretty pitiful. Nobody's really that close. Norlander. Yeah, I mean, I don't like playing any of these 6K guys more than 10%, so I might up some of these percentages, but I think Sabatini, Tom Lewis, Luke List, interesting. He has had vertigo, so be careful playing him. Shank, yeah, we talked about him. Same with Von Taylor. But yeah, Phil, 576, and Michael Thompson. Those are 2 good golfers here. And KH Lee. I don't know why KH Lee isn't showing up, nor Doc Redman. Probably because of the bucket constraints, if we're being honest. But let's save. Look at our next one. Victor Hovland makes an appearance here. That's pretty cool. Wise, Johnson, Werenski. Sure, not terrible. Harmon, Gooch, Matt Jones, Von Taylor. That's a solid lineup. Like, this is having that Finau McIlroy combination, I think is pretty solid. Steele, English, Watson, Rogers. Great lineup there. And then the last one here, as we finish our 5th one, Luke List, Kyle Stanley, Grillo, and Keegan Bradley. Like, that's another good lineup. I have no issues with that one whatsoever. I think that's where I'll leave this video. I did want to use that optimizer, show you. I wanted to get down to some anchor positions. Obviously, I gave you that here on this lineup construction. These are all anchor buckets here, and these are the golfers that fall under those anchors. So if you liked any of these guys, write them down. I'll scroll through this one a little slower since this bucket is pretty large. Pause the video, write some of these names down. If you like some of them, I mean, I suggest playing them. This one's really large. So let me go down here. David Hearn. David Hearn up to KH Lee. Then KH Lee to Maverick McNeely. And then Gary Woodland to Bryson. Patrick Reed's in this one. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of your glue golfers can come from here. So I really don't mind like a Sebastian Munoz. I guess if we're going to hand create a lineup, let's do that. Tony Finau, Rory McIlroy. So Rory's in this one. Finau's in this one. I don't have to worry about these two buckets. I also don't have to worry about this bucket. So I'm choosing between these two buckets, golfers that I like. Why don't we go ahead and put Stu Cink right here? And then I just need to select one golfer from here. I don't mind Gooch. I do like Sebastian Munoz. $7,600 golfer. I mean, let's put Matt Jones in there as well. 74. That seems pretty decent. Now I have 2 strokes gain 1 golfer, or 3 of them, I should say. 1 strokes gain 4, 1 strokes gain 3. Why don't we put a strokes gain 2 in there? $7,400. What can we do? Denny? Does he fit? He has we have $700 on the table. Yeah, Denny fits. What if we put Gooch here? Oh, Gooch fits too. What the heck? I thought Gooch was 7,600. Oh, I have 7,900 left. That's why. So yeah, he is 7,600. I don't know what I'm thinking, but that works. And I think that's a pretty solid lineup. Sebastian Munoz in there a couple times. Stuart Cink, Matt Jones. Pretty fantastic. If we recall, JT was in this bucket right here. And then obviously Joaquin Niemann. Where did he show up twice? He showed up in this bucket too, right? No. The optimizer just selected him that way. Why don't we put Phil in this group, huh? So we have someone, a representative from this bucket. JT is in this bucket, so I don't have to worry about this one. He's also in that one. And then Phil's in this one. So all I really need to do is find someone here. And why don't go with Grillo? That seems like a slam dunk. $7,300 left. Corey Connors is too expensive. I think Harris English is as well. Yeah, a little too expensive. But I could probably find someone for $6,500 down here, can I? No. I don't want multiple 6K golfers, so we're going to try to find 7K guys. ZJ. If you don't know what a ZJ is, you can't afford it. So I have $7,500 left. Why not just add Matt Jones to this one as well? Pretty solid lineup there. I'm not going to go through the rest of them. It's taking up too much time. So those are my sample lineups. I'm just going to leave it there. So actually, before I leave, I purchased a domain. So SweetSpotDFS.com has been taken. I'm going to start working on a website soon. I'm going to try to get a website up and running for the public by the PGA Championship. It's not going to have a database added to it then, but it will have an article up. I'll do some writing. I'm a pretty decent writer. And I'll probably put some of my favorite plays there. I'll put the optimizer there. So I think what I'll just do is if you sign up, you will gain access to it automatically. And that'll be kind of the reward to visit and create a login. So I think that's what I'll be at. But that is the good news that I have. And I don't have anything else to add to that. So I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you guys do well this week. Hopefully this provided you some decent insight. And again, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Let's win some money. All right, bye.